My first day at elite university should have been perfect. But instead, I tripped in the library hallways and literally fell into the arms of Victoria Ashford, the ice queen of the campus that everyone feared. What happened after changed my life forever. She kissed without thinking. I closed my eyes in shock, and when we separated, Victoria looked at me like I had committed the worst crime in the universe. Now, every time I see her, she seems like she wants to kill me. But also, she can't stop seeking me out. And I just can't stop thinking about her. Chapter 1: The Accidental Kiss. I never imagined that a simple stumble would change my life forever. It was my first day at elite university, and I was already exhausted. I had spent the entire night studying for my Introduction to Psychology exam, and my eyes could barely stay open. With a stack of books in my arms that I could barely hold, I walked down the library hallway when I lost my balance and fell forward. I tripped. I didn't see the tall, elegant figure coming around the corner. I didn't see the silver hair falling like silk over perfect shoulders. I didn't see those ice blue eyes that would look at me so coldly. All I saw was the ground rushing toward my face. But I never touched the ground. Instead, I felt strong arms wrapping around me, a scent of vanilla and wood filling my senses, and something soft pressing against my lips. I froze. She froze. The entire world seemed to stop in that moment. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. Her lips were soft, warm, and suddenly, I understood why every girl on campus whispered about Victoria Ashford. It wasn't just her beauty. It was the way she dominated everything around her, even when she was kissing me accidentally in a library hallway. When I finally opened my eyes, I was staring directly into the coldest and most beautiful eyes I had ever seen. The eyes of Victoria Ashford, the ice queen of the campus, the woman everyone feared, the heir to the Ashford Empire. And I had just kissed her. Without permission, without warning, without any reason except my own clumsiness. Her expression changed in a second, from surprised to furious. Her eyes became even more glacial than they already were, and I knew I had made a terrible mistake. A very terrible mistake. I let go and stumbled backward, crashing into a bookshelf. A few books fell to the ground, making me look even more ridiculous than I already felt. Oh my God. What had just happened? Victoria stepped back, lifting her hand to touch her lips, as if she could erase what had just happened. Her hand trembled slightly. Or maybe I was imagining things. With Victoria Ashford, you could never be sure. "I'm sorry," I whispered, but the words barely left my mouth. My voice was too weak, too scared. Victoria just looked at me, not saying a word. Her silence was more terrifying than any scream. Then she turned around and walked away, her footsteps echoing in the empty library hallway. I stood there trembling, my heart still racing, wondering what had just happened, and if this meant that my first day at university would also be my last. But that was just the beginning. Chapter 2: Victoria's Secret World. After Victoria disappeared from the library, I spent the next 2 hours in complete panic. Sitting down and concentrating on studying was impossible. My mind could only think about what I had done, how I had kissed her accidentally, how she had disappeared without a word. Would she go straight to the dean's office to report me for harassment? Would I be expelled on my first day? When I finally gathered the courage to leave the library, I decided to try to find out more about Victoria Ashford. I knew she was the Ice Queen, that everyone feared her, that she was the heir to an important fortune. But I knew almost nothing else. My roommate, Sophie, seemed to be an endless source of campus gossip. I found her in our dorm room, lying on her bed with her phone when I walked in. "Who is Victoria Ashford?" I asked casually, trying not to seem too anxious. Sophie sat up immediately, her eyes wide. "Victoria Ashford? Why are you asking about her?" "No reason," I lied. "I just heard her name around campus." Sophie laughed, but her laugh had a tone of warning in it. "Well, let me tell you about the Ice Queen of campus. Victoria is the heir to Ashford Industries, one of the biggest companies in the country. Her family is absurdly rich. I'm talking about generational money, mansions, yachts, all that kind of thing. But Victoria is not like the other spoiled rich kids on campus. She's different." "Different how?" I asked. "Well, she's incredibly intelligent, like too intelligent. Some say she's a genius. She's only in her second year and she's already taking graduate-level classes. Plus, she's incredibly cold. She has almost no friends. Most people fear her. She's publicly rejected at least 20 people who have confessed love to her. It's like her heart is really made of ice." My stomach sank. I had just kissed a woman who publicly rejected people who loved her. A woman who was famous for being impossible, untouchable, perfect in a way that made everyone else feel small. "Is there anything else?" I asked, even though I wasn't sure if I really wanted to know. Sophie smiled in a way that suggested there was much more. "Well, a few years ago when Victoria was 16, her ex-girlfriend Ashley went missing. They never found her body. Some say Victoria loved her desperately, that the relationship was forbidden by her family, and when Ashley disappeared, something in Victoria died too. That's why she's so cold now. That's why she rejects everyone. She just doesn't want to love anyone ever again." I felt my heart sink. Not only had I kissed the Ice Queen of campus, I had kissed a woman who was broken inside, who had lost the love of her life. "Do you know where I can find her?" I asked without being able to help it. Sophie looked at me with curiosity. "Why? Are you going to try to conquer the Ice Queen? Because if you are, you have a 0% chance. Trust me, many people have tried. They've all failed." "I know," I said. "I just need to talk to her." Sophie shrugged. "She usually eats in the library around 6 in the evening. It's the only meal she eats in public. I guess finding her there should be easy." I spent the rest of the day nervous, checking the time every few minutes. At 5:45, I headed to the library. When I got there, Victoria was at a small table in the corner of the study section, eating a salad and reading a thick book on quantum economics. She looked completely focused, completely oblivious to the world around her. Her silver hair spilled over one of her shoulders, and the afternoon light made her look almost unreal, like a porcelain statue that someone had placed in the library just to break people's hearts. But that was just the beginning of our story. Chapter 3: First Real Connection. I spent 3 days working up the courage to approach Victoria again. 3 days of seeing her in the library, of losing myself in my own thoughts, of wondering if I should just apologize and never see her again. But something in me couldn't let it go. Something in me wanted to know her, really know her, beneath her cold exterior. On the 4th day after classes, I headed straight to the library and searched for her. She was at her usual table, reading what looked like an essay on psychological phenomena. Without allowing myself to think too much, I walked over to her table and sat down in the chair across from her. Victoria looked up, and her eyes hardened immediately. "What are you doing?" she asked coldly. "I need to apologize," I said quickly before I lost my nerve, "for what happened in the library. It wasn't intentional. I just tripped, and you were there, and I didn't know what to do, and—" "Stop," Victoria said, raising her hand. "I don't need an explanation. It was an accident. End of story." But it's not the end of the story, is it? Because if it was, you wouldn't be here right now looking tense every time I come near you. Victoria closed her book so hard that some nearby students looked up, concerned. "Your name," she said. "What?" "Your name. What is it?" "Luna," I answered. "My name is Luna." "Luna," Victoria repeated, as if she was testing my name on her tongue. "It's a beautiful name, meaningful. But here's what's going to happen, Luna. I'm going to pretend that what happened in the library never happened. You're going to do the same. And then we're going to go on with our lives as if we were meeting for the first time." "I can't do that," I said, and I didn't know where this boldness was coming from. Not when I know there's more to you than this Ice Queen facade. Victoria stood up from her chair so fast that she knocked it backward. People around us were now definitely watching us. "You don't know anything about me, Luna. You don't know who I am. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know why I'm like this. So I suggest you stop trying, because it's not going to work." Then she left, leaving me alone in the library with her abandoned essay on the table. But the fact that she left her essay was what gave me the idea. The next day, I returned the essay by sliding it under the door of her dorm room. I attached a note that simply said, "I don't need to understand everything about you to want to know you. I hope I can talk to you soon." I didn't get a response for 2 days. I thought I had ruined it. I thought I would never see her in the library the same way again. But then, on the 3rd day, I received a note under my door. It simply said, "Meet me at the riverbank tomorrow at 6 in the evening. Just you. Don't tell anyone." That was the beginning of the end of everything. The moment Victoria Ashford realized that maybe, just maybe, she could lower her walls, at least a little. Chapter 4. Rising Tension. The riverbank was beautiful at sunset. The trees hung over the water, creating shadows that danced with the golden light of the setting sun. When I arrived there, Victoria was already waiting, sitting on a gray stone bench, watching the water. She didn't turn when I approached. "I thought you weren't going to come," she said when I sat beside her, leaving about 30 centimeters between us. "I thought I wasn't going to come too," I admitted. "So why are we here?" Victoria asked. "Because I want to understand you. I want to know who you really are beneath all that coldness." Victoria was silent for a long time. I could hear the sound of the water, the birds singing in the trees, my own heart beating so hard I was sure she could hear it too. "I had a girlfriend," Victoria said finally. "Her name was Ashley. I loved her more than anything in the world. But my family didn't approve. So we fought, in secret, in the shadows. She wanted me to come out, to tell everyone. I was afraid. And then, one day, she disappeared. She just left. My family said she had run away, that it was all in my imagination. But I knew the truth. She was gone because I wasn't brave enough to be with her." "Luna," Victoria whispered, her eyes still on the water. I don't believe in love. I think it's an illusion that humans create for themselves so they won't be alone. And I can't afford to believe in it. Not again. Not after what happened with Ashley. Then why did you bring me here? I asked. Good question, Victoria answered, finally looking at me. I think part of me wants to believe that I'm wrong, that love is real. And there's something about you, Luna. Something about the way you kissed me accidentally. Something about the way you just wouldn't give up. That makes me want to believe it. She lifted her hand and touched my cheek. Her touch was soft, careful, like she was touching something fragile that could break. My heart began to beat even harder, and suddenly I realized that I wasn't scared of Victoria. I was in love with her. Completely, desperately in love with her. But I couldn't tell her that. Not yet. Instead, I simply whispered, then maybe you can start to believe again. With me. Victoria smiled, and it was the most beautiful smile I had ever seen. It wasn't the cold smile of the ice queen of the campus. It was the smile of a woman who, for the first time in years, allowed herself to feel hope. Chapter 5. The Breaking Point. The next 2 months were the happiest of my life. Victoria and I spent every possible moment together. I studied in the library while she read. We met at the riverbank every evening. We stole kisses in the hidden places on campus that she knew. Nobody knew. It was our secret, our private bubble in a campus full of people who would have instantly objected. Victoria was too important, too untouchable, and I was just a nobody first-year student. If anyone found out, everyone would assume I was using her, that I was hunting for fortune. But one night, while we were lying in her bed in her dorm room, yes, Victoria had her own private suite because she was the heir to a fortune, everything changed. I have to tell you something, Victoria said, sitting up in bed. It was around 2 a.m, and moonlight was filtering through her windows. What? I asked, my heart beginning to race. Every time someone says that in the middle of the night, it usually means they're about to tell you something you don't want to hear. My parents are going to be on campus in a week to pick me up. I have to attend an important charity event in the city. And when they arrive, I'm going to have to pretend that you're nothing to me, that you're just a classmate I met briefly. Why? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Because if my parents find out that I'm with a woman, they're going to disinherit me. They're going to make my life impossible. They're going to try to send me to an institution. That's my family, Luna. That's how toxic. That's how controlling. So what's your point? I asked, even though my heart was already breaking. My point is that we have to be careful, extremely careful. We can't let anyone know about us until I figure out how to handle my parents. But that means we have to separate when they arrive, right? That we have to pretend we're nothing to each other? Victoria was silent. I took that as a yes. I'm scared, Luna, Victoria said finally, and her voice broke. I'm scared of what my parents will do. I'm scared of losing my inheritance. I'm scared of losing you. But more than anything, I'm scared of being as weak as my parents made me, as weak as I was with Ashley. Then don't be weak, I said, sitting up in bed. Stand up and tell them the truth. Tell them that you love me. But she didn't. When her parents arrived a week later, Victoria became a completely different person. She was the Ice Queen again, hermetic, untouchable, perfect in a way that made everyone else feel small. And she looked at me exactly the way she would look at a stranger. Like the accidental kiss in the library, the riverbank, all the nights we spent in her room never happened. I thought it was over. I thought it was all a lie. But that was just the beginning of the real problems. Chapter 6. The Truth Revealed. While Victoria spent her days pretending she didn't know me, I discovered something that would change everything. Her father, Alexander Ashford, wasn't just a normal businessman. He was a violent man who had been financing a human trafficking industry for years. I accidentally saw a file on a friend's computer who worked in the university administration office, and inside were documents connecting Alexander Ashford to at least 20 missing person cases, including Ashley. When I discovered this, I knew I had to tell Victoria. But I also knew that if I did, I would be putting her life in danger. Her family was dangerous, extremely dangerous. I waited a week for her parents to leave, and then I searched for her. I found her in the library, at her usual table, as if the last month hadn't happened. "We need to talk," I said, sitting in the chair across from her without permission. "We have nothing to talk about," Victoria answered without looking at me. "Your father is a human trafficker. Ashley didn't leave. She was taken." Victoria looked up, and I saw the exact moment everything changed on her face. I saw the moment she understood the truth. I saw the moment her world broke apart. "How do you know?" she whispered. I told her everything, about the files, about the documents, about everything I had discovered. Victoria turned as white as a ghost. Her hands trembled so badly that I had to hold them to prevent things from falling off the table. "My father," she murmured. "My father did this. My father took her." "That's right," I confirmed. "And he's done it to other people too. Many other people." "Victoria, we need to go to the police. We need to—" "No," Victoria said suddenly, standing up from her chair. "We're not going to the police. My father has people in the police. He has power everywhere." "So what do we do?" I asked, my voice filled with panic. Victoria took my hand and looked me in the eyes. "This is what we're going to do," she said slowly. "We're going to get evidence. Evidence that my father can't deny. And then we're going to expose him. And then we're going to make sure he goes to prison. And we're going to find Ashley and all the other people he took." "But that means they're going to come after you," I said. "I know," Victoria answered. "But it's the price I have to pay for being too much of a coward to face my family years ago. It's the price I have to pay for letting my fear control my life. It's the price for not loving you enough to fight for us." So we started our plan. And that's how everything went to hell. Chapter 7. The Lowest Point. The police arrived at Victoria's dorm room at 3 a.m. Her father had discovered what we were doing. He had discovered that Victoria had been stealing files from his office, that she was talking to private investigators, that she had trusted me with everything. And instead of allowing her to expose him, he decided to erase her from the world. He disinherited her. But more than that, he accused her of theft, fraud, and misuse of family funds. The charges were all lies, of course, but her father's lawyers were good enough that the charges remained on record for months while everything was resolved. Victoria was expelled from the university. She was forced to leave the city. And I stayed behind, watching as they took away the woman I loved. The last time I saw her was at the bus station, the morning before she left. She was standing alone, with a backpack on her back, her silver hair less careful than usual, her blue eyes dull and empty. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't apologize," Victoria said. "You gave me a gift, Luna. You gave me the chance to believe in love again. You gave me the chance to be brave. And even though everything went wrong, I'm still grateful for that." Then she kissed me, a soft and sweet kiss that tasted like goodbye. The next 3 months were the loneliest of my life. I didn't have Victoria. I didn't know where she was. I spent my days going to classes pretending to be okay, while inside I was breaking into 1,000 pieces. Everything reminded me of Victoria. The library, the riverbank, my room, the whole damn university. And then, one afternoon, while I was sitting at the riverbank, alone as always, I received an email. It had a subject line but no sender name, just a short message. "I love you, Luna. I haven't stopped loving you, and I'm going to find a way to come back for you." I knew instantly that it was from Victoria. Chapter 8. The Climax. I didn't see Victoria for 4 months. 4 months of waiting, of checking her Instagram, of constantly checking my phone to see if she had contacted me. Then, one day, when I returned to my dorm after classes, I found her sitting outside waiting for me. It was really her. Not a hallucination, not a dream. Really, Victoria Ashford, the ice queen of the campus, the fallen heir, the woman I loved more than anything in the world. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my heart racing, my eyes filled with tears. "I just got rid of the charges," Victoria said, standing up. "My father was arrested a week ago. All the evidence we gathered was enough to incriminate him in the disappearance of Ashley and 32 other people. He's going to prison. His empire is crumbling. And I've been waiting for the right moment to come back." "And?" I asked. "And I came looking for you. I came to do this right this time. I came to not be afraid, to not let my family control me, to be brave." Victoria came closer to me, and before I could say another word, she kissed me. It wasn't an accidental kiss this time. It was a deliberate kiss. A kiss that said everything I couldn't express in words. It was a kiss that promised a future together. "I love you, Luna," she whispered against my lips. "I've been in love with you since the first day you tripped in the library. I've been in love with you through all of this, and I'm never going to stop being in love with you." "I love you too," I answered through tears. She kissed me again, deeper this time, with a fire that had been burning inside us for months. Nobody on campus knew. Nobody noticed. But in that moment, I didn't care. Victoria was mine, and I was hers, and nothing and no one could change that. Chapter 9. The Resolution. After Victoria came back, everything on campus changed. Suddenly, her story spread. How she had been disinherited, how her father had been arrested, how she had been brave enough to expose him. She became a hero. The student who was brave enough to do the right thing at the expense of her own family. And about us. Well, eventually everyone found out about us, too. Sophia was the first to figure it out, of course. One morning when she saw Victoria coming out of my dorm room wearing my hoodie. Her eyes lit up, and then she smiled. "I knew it," she said simply. "I always knew there was something between you two." "Aren't you disgusted?" I asked. "Why would I be?" she answered. "You're my best friend." And Victoria, well, even though she's the Ice Queen, now she's my friend too. And I just want you to be happy. The first weeks were strange, having to be public about our relationship after months of secrets. But it was also liberating. It was like finally being able to breathe after being underwater for too long. Victoria and I walked hand in hand across campus. We ate together in the cafeteria. Professors saw us together and just smiled, like they had been waiting for us to finally admit what was obvious all along. But the best part was when Ashley was found. She was alive. She had been kept in a house in a nearby city, but investigators found her in one of Alexander Ashford's private bunkers. When Victoria saw her for the first time since she was taken years ago, she cried. Really cried, for the first time I knew her. And then she hugged me tight, as if she wanted to make sure I was really there, that this wasn't just a dream. Ashley and Victoria will never be what they were. That's clear now. But they were able to find peace with each other, and Ashley was generous enough to give me her blessing when I told her that I loved her ex. I think I always knew Victoria would fall in love with someone like you, Ashley said once I met her. Someone brave enough to not be afraid of her. Someone strong enough to make her lower her walls. So go ahead, love her, and make sure she knows every day that she deserves to be loved. I promise, I said. Chapter 10, the epilogue. 3 years later, Victoria and I graduated from elite university. She with honors, of course, despite everything that happened. Me with a smile on my face because finally, I had this. This was my moment. Our moment. It was at the graduation ceremony, surrounded by the entire campus, that Victoria took me to a private section of the university gardens, the same riverbank where she opened her heart to me 3 years ago. "Luna," she said, falling to one knee, "I have something to ask you." She pulled out a small box, and inside was a ring, a beautiful ring, silver with a blue diamond that perfectly matched her eyes. "Will you marry me?" Victoria asked. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." So there it is, from an accident in the library to a ring on my finger, from an ice queen who didn't believe in love to a woman who was willing to burn down empires for the love of her life. From my first day at university to our first day as engaged. Because that's what I've learned about Victoria Ashford, the ice queen of the campus. She is strong, brave, intelligent, and more beautiful than words can describe. But more than anything, she is loving. Deeply, painfully, completely loving. And I have the privilege of spending the rest of my life being loved by her. I never imagined on that first day at elite university, when I tripped in the library hallways, that I would fall into the arms of the one person I needed to find, that I would accidentally kiss the woman I would spend the rest of my life with. But here I am, and here is where I want to be, forever.